Welcome to Quick Lit, where hyped books climb our TBRs so fast we drop everything to talk about them. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Kara.
And we are Fantasy Femme Fatales. And today we're talking about Arcana Academy, the first book in the new fantasy romance series by Elise Kova. Now, this book is giving us a magic school, tarot card magic, revenge plots, games and trials. Like, this book really packed a punch. But before we get into the nitty gritty, if you haven't read Arcana Academy yet, don't worry. As always, we have a spoiler-free section planned just for you, so you can decide if this one's worth a read or not. We will give you the cue when we're ready to go off on all the spoilers, and that will be your cue to exit and come back later. So with that, get cozy and let's get into it.
So, Arcana Academy is book 1 of 3 of a brand new series, and it's fantasy with a romance subplot. So, definitely not your typical romantasy. Our story focuses on Clara Greysword, who has been illegally practicing arcana magic since the loss of her mother and separation from her sister Arina. After a curious turn of events, Clara finds herself rescued from the Halazar prison and enrolled in Arcana Academy in exchange for her commitment to wed the headmaster Kaelis, the man who unalived her mother, and help him uncover secrets of the arcana, their magic, thought to be only folktales.
Now, like, this synopsis doesn't sound all that special, but this book packs a punch. We didn't want to reveal anything. There's a lot going on in this story. The world building, the magic, and the plot developments are so very creative, and they make for a story that's worth every single page, which is something that major props. I love a book that makes it worth your while. Even the use of tarot card magic alone in the way that it's used is mesmerizing, it's intriguing, and very layered. I loved how the magic system was revealed throughout the story, so it feels very natural and intriguing. We've all read books where you get like dumps of information, dumps of magic system thrown at you, and in this book it flows very naturally. There are aspects of games and trials as well, but it's not in the way where in other books it kind of takes over the entire plot. It's carefully used to create excitement and brings out new details of the world, the politics, and the magic that are laying the foundation in this first book of the series. I gotta say, this is one of the most complete first books in a trilogy that I've ever read. I was really impressed. I've never read an Elise Kova book before. I read this as an ARC earlier this year, so I also didn't have any frame of reference, what to expect, and I really, really enjoyed it. So I'm really excited to talk about this one. Kara, what was your kind of initial feeling starting the book?
Yeah, I really liked it. I thought the premise was super interesting, and for a first book, like to be able to dive into that complex of a magic system in the first book in the trilogy, I thought was really cool. Clara took a little bit to grow on me in terms of her personality, but towards the end, I was really kind of, connecting and understanding her on a deeper level. So yeah, I thought it was really cool. Like the magic system really carried the book for me. I think that was like such an interesting way to bring the magic to life. Like the tarot cards, you don't often see that. So I'm very curious what book 2 has in store.
Yeah, me too. And like that point about the magic system, I keep thinking about One Dark Window. We haven't read the Shepherd King duology yet. It's definitely on like at the top of the TBR. But I also think the magic is very different than how it works in that book. And you kind of gotta see it to believe it. But in this series, you get a very interesting, very visually impactful magic system that's like so cool as you see it used in its various forms. Now, before we get too deep, if you like what you hear, it would mean so much to us if you'd hit the subscribe button or the follow button. That way you won't miss an episode. This just helps us reach more listeners just like you so we can keep the Fantasy Femme Fatales podcast going. We appreciate all of you and we hope you'll stick around.
There was a lot to love about this book, and I'm so excited to dig a little bit deeper. So let's get into the details. Sarah, what did you really like and what did you not like about this book?
I'm a big believer that the right books hit at the right time, so that can be a big impact on how you feel about a book. And like this one, with it being a lot more like plot centered, action oriented, and the romance not being such a focus, like it was still definitely there. You were curious and intrigued by it. I felt like the world and the magic and the plot were very immersive. Like even the very first chapter, there's like a small prologue, but she's in prison. She kind of has to escape. There's this really interesting thing going on like right off the hop. And so I felt like Elise Kova, the author, just like knew how to craft a story, and I could feel it as I was reading it. That was like the first thing that got me really excited about the book.
Yeah, 100%. I think it started off with a bang, to be honest. Like, she did a really good job at like drawing us in and like building intrigue for the magic system and what was going to happen.
Mhm.
It was intense right off the bat. I thought that that was really well done. I agree. I don't think I would describe it as like a romance heavy book, but I also really liked that it felt like it could go in different directions. Oftentimes when we read romance books, you kind of get an inkling pretty right off the bat who
Mhm.
the MMC is going to be. And with this, it kind of took some time to build. You suspect one person, but then things are kind of hot and cold, and then you meet a new person and you're like, wait, how does this person fit into all of this? So, yeah, it did keep me on my toes. And we still don't necessarily know exactly how things are going to shake out, which I think is cool.
Yeah. I felt it too. Like this book, I could kind of visualize so much of it in my head too. Like, I mean, it's called Arcana Academy. It's not a spoiler that they end up at a school, and like the way the school is described and some of the things they have to go through right away to like fully be accepted into the school. Just written in a way that it felt like a movie in my head. And I really love that experience. And there are some fun and interesting characters alongside as well that I wouldn't say I was hugely emotionally invested in them, but they were like fun. Like sometimes I really feel like side characters are a full throwaway, and I felt like these characters were working the plot. And so like I was okay with not having a deep connection to them, but also finding them unpredictable, which I love.
I think as you progress in the book, you know, the stakes rise and you learn about like a specific group without being super vague. But it definitely raises the stakes and you start to see how like these different characters play together or might not play together. Was there anything that you didn't like about the book? Anything that just felt meh? What are your thoughts?
I feel like the spice wasn't my favorite. There was like a little bit of sprinkle of spice in there, and just like, I mean, the bar is high, I will say.
Yes.
Like I liked like I liked the mystery and the yearning and like the build. I liked how they talked to each other a lot. But when push came to shove, I just like wasn't super feeling it like in my
Yeah.
bones. So that would be like my one criticism, but it like absolutely would not deter me from continuing the series because I also think she was really smart about not making anyone endgame by the end of book one and by only giving us like a very little bit, so there's still a lot of mystery.
I would say the same thing. Like I didn't feel the spark between them. And I understand, you know, maybe some of that was intentional, but at the same time, there was something about their connection that fell a little bit flat for me. I also think that there were parts where the pacing was tough for me to get through. Like I think there was like a good chunk where I was like, okay, let's move it along, but once it starts moving, it moves and I'm reading like a maniac and I can't put it
Mhm.
down. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you. I definitely think it wasn't my favorite romance, but the plot was super engaging, enough for me to pick up book two for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point on the pacing too, because I don't know if you're like me, but there is like a trials aspect to the story. And
Mhm.
something I've noticed about myself as a reader is like as soon as I know there's trials and I kind of understand the makeup of them, then I'm like anticipating those events. And I can get a little impatient waiting for them to happen. And I felt that a little in this too. But then you're kind of surprised that like the whole plot does not hinge on these trials. They're really like a subplot. So that got me like kind of back into it because I realized it was a natural progression of the story, but it was not really what we were focused on.
Totally. Yeah, it definitely, the trials not being like the big part, I think was like a big swing too for the author because we've seen that be so successful in movies, books, like it's everywhere, right?
Reading the book, would you compare it or did you see any similarities to any like books or movies?
That's a good point. I haven't really thought about it.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit. Like I think there were parts of it that felt more young adult in nature and so it kind of makes me think of like Divergent, Hunger Games. Like they're different, but like I think the writing style could kind of lend itself to more of those like dystopian style plots.
Yeah, no, I like that. I think she actually has written less like adult, like romanticy stuff. So that might be why you're feeling that. But I've heard good things about her other books. For me, when they go into the school, I was getting like some pretty strong Harry Potter like feels. And I mean, I think it's hard to make like a big, beautiful, magical school not feel like Harry Potter when you grew up with that. I didn't think it was like a copycat, but I kind of liked it because of the way it was detailed and like I could visualize it so easily that I was getting that parallel. And
Mhm.
just some of the romantasy books that we've read recently that have like high stakes. There's a bit of a grittiness to it. You don't know who's going to survive. Like I was feeling those things that were like familiar in a good way, but so much of it was original.
I have been dying to get into the magic system. This was one of my favorite parts of this series. Like, hats off to you, Elise, for being able to pull this together.
I was just like absolutely obsessed right away. Like I wanted to make like map out the magic system on like videos for like socials and like the podcast and everything. It was just like quietly in my own little corner waiting for you to read this book with me. But like I was obsessed and like I am not a like super experienced tarot card person. Like I think it's very cool. I'm very intrigued, but it was like educating me on tarot
Right.
card magic and the fact that I mean kind of at the core of the magic is like creating cards, wielding cards and reading cards. So even with that alone, you have like so much to work with and she does such a cool job of like building each of those pillars into something so creative and interesting and then when you actually see it come to life, it's like so cool. I loved it. I was obsessed.
No, it was really cool. I think it's probably one of the more unique magic systems that felt really studied. I like that it was something that we could draw expertise from in real life. Like that's rare as well. I was able to like make connections to different cards and get a better understanding of them. I thought was really cool. And the action scenes were really cool. Like sometimes I was lost because I'm like, oh my gosh, you said that 5 chapters ago about what this specific card does, but like in the action scenes when they're like wielding cards back and forth, that part was so intriguing. Like so cool. It felt like a Pokemon duel in some ways. Like so cool.
So cool. And like then there's like other layers to the magic that like we just won't even get into because like they should be a surprise for you like they were for us. But
Yes.
it actually makes me so excited for book 2 because the way that the magic system was revealed in the story was like you get kind of a little bit. She's got connections to her past, but then there's also the school. And so you're learning about it in different ways and you're getting these different pieces revealed to you. So at no point do you really feel like you have a complete understanding of it? So there is always the possibility that we get more in book 2 and there's more to it that we learn and that makes me really excited about continuing the series.
Yes, yes. The way that it ended, good question to ask you. I know I felt like it ended on a cliffhanger personally. I just have so many unanswered questions spinning around in my head. We found out like a big bomb drop at the very end. So what are your thoughts? Did you feel like it was a cliffhanger? I know you've got like a different interpretation of that. So,
Yeah, I really didn't. Like I was so content. I was like, great, we're done for now. Like, I know where things sit. Like, the story has to continue, but we are like at a very clear divide here of like this phase of the story into like a new phase. So, yeah, I slept well that night.
yeah. I mean, yeah, I that makes sense to me, but I feel like yeah, just the bomb that goes off at the end. If you haven't read it, go read it. You'll know what I'm talking about. But
Yeah.
that part was like, shit, like things are going to get interesting. Things are going to get very interesting next book. So,
Yeah, we'll have to come back to this in our spoiler section because if we're talking about the same thing, I have like a bit of a prediction.
ooh, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where did it kind of land in your books this year, Kara? Where would you say?
Oh my gosh. It's definitely up there. I think I would say top 10 for sure. I think it's been a long time that a romantasy doesn't feel so cut and dry in terms of
Hmm.
like we're going through the same story, the same thing, but like in a different font. And this just felt so fresh and unique to me that yeah, it's a top 10 for sure.
Well put. Like, well put. I gotta admit, like, I'm over here, I'm listening to Brimstone and like, I'm enjoying it, but I was refreshing myself on Arcana Academy and like, your sentiments exactly. Like it just does not feel like anything else. I think like if someone wasn't gonna like it, they might like the world building, the magic, like would that be the thing that deters them? Maybe the fact that there's a little less romance, but I just think that there's something in it for everyone. Like it's just such a solid story. So
Totally.
hopefully the series continues to impress us.
How would you convince somebody to read Arcana Academy, or what's something that stood out about the book compared to some other reads that you might have had this year?
I think that Arcana Academy gave us a magic system that I would like trade a piece of my soul to get to live in real life. Like the magic system is to die for. It's so
Literally.
cool. It sounds beautiful. The layers to it are just like so smart and so fun. Like, absolutely loved it.
10 out of 10 for magic system.
Yeah. Okay, so before we get into the spoilers, we've been having the absolute best time on Fable lately, and if you don't follow us on social media, you may not know that the Fantasy Femme Fatale's book club is now live on Fable. So we are choosing our most hyped books to feature on the book club so we can read them together and give you enough time to read the book before the episode airs. So this is just giving like the ultimate buddy reading experience, and we're having so much fun connecting with everyone online. Our next book club pick is none other than Keri Lake's Eldritch. We have waited 12 years to read this book. Oh my god. And this is going to be our preparation for the deep dive series that we will be releasing in the new year. So if you haven't read Eldritch yet, or you're down for a reread, now is the perfect time to read with us. And you can find the book club link in our show notes. So with that said, listeners, consider this your spoiler warning.
My favorite part. I don't know how I stop myself every time from like the spoilers, the spoiler-free sections. Those do a number on me every single time.
You're doing great. Like you've come a long way.
Come a long way. Like it was not always like this, guys. Okay, we've talked a little bit about this, but now that we are unleashing the beast and it's time for spoilers, what was your favorite part of Arcana Academy?
Like full disclosure, my favorite part was when like the brother was the death major, and then he tried to use the card and he didn't know her name and he couldn't use the card, and I was just like like this is what it means. I was blown away.
Oh, I thought that was crazy too. And like they flash back to her mom being like, guard your name with everything. And it's like, that woman knew stuff. She knew things that would be very important to our Clara. Even just him being deaf. Like I kind of suspected that maybe the king or Raven were a major, but like I wasn't sure. We didn't have enough evidence to figure it out. The one question that I have though is like, what is the cost of him doing that? It seems like he's just doing it willy-nilly.
No, you're right. There's obviously a cost, right? There's always a cost for using major magic. So probably we're going to find out in book 2, I would guess. I always think it's like going to tarnish your soul or something. That's usually what like a dark magic does, but great question.
I mean, his soul does feel tarnished, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Sure does. And like his birth mother died coincidentally, so we can probably assume that like the king and the prince had something to do with that. Yeah, if he's deaf, then he's just like wielding that magic whenever
Right.
daddy says so.
Right. Yeah, I would put money on it at this point. Like there, and you know what? It does feel like Raven doesn't have a soul. Like he does feel very soulless. So yeah, wouldn't put it past him.
Do we know if Kaelis knows that Raven is deaf?
No, but I don't think we know. And honestly, why would he say anything?
Well, that's the thing. Based on how everything goes, like the king has the death card. So the suggestion is that someone knows who death is, but it's never brought up that Kaelis knows. But like you would think he would protect Clara by telling her because like they're in it together, right? That's the kind of thing you would tell someone is just whatever you do, don't tell my brother your real name because he'll kill you.
True. Yeah. Maybe he doesn't know. I really liked the uncovering that she was a major. Like I think it made total sense. Like we knew in the very beginning that she could ink with whatever type of powder. Like it didn't need to be a specific powder. I liked the whole journey of her trying to like figure out what her major card. Typically you see all of these like big fight scenes and training and like hear this a lot of like inner dialogue about the power, and I think that this her whole journey was approached just totally differently compared to some other books that I've read. So I thought that that was really interesting as well. I also like that it came out while she was fighting with Ezza too.
I think it was interesting to get a character that was like skilled at these types of magic. That was like kind of her wild card. But then when it comes down to it and she learns she has more magic, she doesn't just like automatically know how to use it. Or in other books, sometimes it's like, just do this. And then the magic is like full force. Those are all the layers that I was obsessed with. There's like different ingredients and like powders to use to like make the cards. And then you have the majors, and the majors have like this one type of magic, but then they have like other types of magic and they have different sources of magic. And it was just like, whoa, like there's a lot happening here.
There was a lot. Yeah, I think, yeah, the magic system was by far my favorite. I thought it was really, really well done. Is this her first fantasy?
No.
Okay, I was gonna say, like this feels like somebody who knows what they're doing for sure.
Yeah, I think she has two other series, I want to say. I could be wrong on that. Two well-known series. One is called Air Awakens, and I think anything that doesn't have spice is considered young adult, so we'll just call it that.
Yeah.
But I think it's just like more of a fantasy, young adult fantasy. And then there's another one, I can't remember the name, but she has a new book of a new series coming out in January. This like I think it's Dragonborn or something.
Ooh.
So intrigued. And then I think my friend told me that book 2 of Arcana Academy is coming out next year. So these
Add it to the
authors.
list. Sarah and I just did our big Fantasy Femme Fatale Fest where we like figure out our book picks. So stay tuned for that. That was like pulling teeth with all of the different picks that we had, but we'll just have to fit that one in.
It was like our version of a fantasy football league. Like that, if
Literally.
we had recorded that exercise, like that was the vibe. It was like trading and like
Totally.
giving things up.
What was your least favorite part? It's so hard to say that because I think like this book for sure, at least for me, was like a resounding yes in terms of like the subject matter, the magic system, the plot. But was there anything that just didn't hit for you?
I think like, yeah, fully I agree with you that like my criticisms are weak. If I'm going to pick something, then I'll pick something, but there's nothing that bothered me. I think there was some stuff with Silas that I didn't love, like especially in the end, it's like they have my family and I answer to the brother and it was like, yeah, okay. Pretty obvious, I would say. That could have been a really cool reveal and it just didn't do a lot for me, but there was like so much else going on and he wove right into the plot line that like it was fine, you know? Like it didn't need him to be everything.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I felt like there was a lot of power there to like manipulate Silas into something that could have been a little bit greater than what happened with him. Like he did just kind of feel
Mhm.
more like a footnote and like somebody to help drive the plot forward as opposed to like an essential part of it. I do have some criticisms. Overall, I thought the book was awesome. But I've been reading some like really emotionally driven books lately. And so I think jumping into this after some of those like more gut-wrenching reads, the characters didn't feel as dimensional as some of the other books. It was hard for me to like really connect with Clara and Kaelis. There were some like really cute moments with Clara and Allure, which I really loved, but
Mhm.
um I think that that might just be a symptom of coming from some like really emotionally devastating books into a book that's like a little bit lighter in that way. But that was one thing that stood out to me. Like I was like, man, I'm not really feeling connected to these
Yeah.
characters. I do think that this book is possibly a setup to get us a little bit deeper into some of those characters. I have some predictions potentially that might shift things more in that direction in later books, but that was something that I found a bit tough is just, going from books that were like ripping my heart out into something that like just didn't feel the same.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I would agree with that. Like I think the emotional depth was not there. I think part of the challenge is that Clara doesn't have much. She has presumed to have lost her sister, her mother. She wants revenge, but she's not really in it to make friends. She's like friendly. And so without those ties, what are the stakes for her? It's really about her getting out of the situation more than getting someone back. So I could also see how that would change in the later
Right.
book. But I agree. I think we didn't quite get that. And I think I mentioned that earlier that like the romance was not my favorite and I also was kind of okay with that. Like there are parts where I was like, oh, like I really thought this was the moment to like hit. Like when they were at the event at the brother's house and she sees Liam
Yeah.
And there's that whole kind of tense thing, and then she ends up walking away and Kaelis follows her and like they kiss. I was like I was so excited and like that got me. But then later in the book when like the spice actually hit, I was like, this ain't Keri Lake, you know? Like it's just not got the burn that I'm
Yeah.
used to. And I try not to like put everyone in like a Keri Lake Kylie Snow
I
because we're
know.
just not gonna get that. And like this is very different. She's done something different, but yeah, I would be giving the spice on this and like the romance a lower rating than like the magic system.
Totally. Yeah, like I almost wonder if this book, it's so hard to say because like it's part of the book that, they get married or like they're engaged to be wed. But I almost wonder if it would be stronger without the romance in some ways. Like if there was a way to do that. Personally think that might have been stronger just because I did have expectations of like yearning. I always
Hmm.
do. I always
Yeah.
do. And it makes it tough. And it doesn't need to be spice. Like I was happy with the amount of spice.
I hear you. And my hope is that the romance was not the point. And I am not a big lover of like a marriage of convenience plot. And so I was nervous when that was like brought into the story right away. But then it was really like, oh, you're really just kind of dangling this thing. And like, we don't actually know if they're ever going to get married. It's like a guise. So I'm kind of like, okay, you're not playing this card really strong. I like that.
Right.
So, is there room for the romance to actually really take shape in like a new way in book two? I think so. And I hope that if that's how she's mapping it out, that once it comes to like focus on the romance, that we'll get more of the emotional layers and like the actual yearning and tension that we just didn't quite get here.
Oh my gosh, yes. I would absolutely love that. Okay. Now, what was the most surprising Arcana Academy moment for you?
Surprising.
I mean, we've talked about it being twisty, so this might be tough. Like there were twists left, right, and center.
I'm gonna go like a cute surprise was like the cat. Like I loved the cat, Pris, and how she like loves Clara. Like the author likes cats. We can confirm that like she's a cat lady because she like wrote the cat to a T, which is like obviously she's gonna like the girl and like the one who doesn't like look for her attention first. I just love that being like snuck in and how Kaelis is like bothered by it. Like the first night she
Yes.
sleeps in the apartments and the cat sleeps with her and he's like, "Oh, you took my cat." And she's like, "I didn't take her." It was just like, I just perfection.
Yeah,
Love
she
that.
just prefers me. Like that was
Yeah.
so cute. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I love that.
Yes. Yeah. So that was fun.
I think for me, I had a sense that this was going to happen, but you just never know. But I think it was her really deciding at the end, like, the jig is up. I'm not staying with Kaelis. I'm not trusting this situation. I'm out. And like using
Yeah.
her get out of jail chariot card and just fucking off. I thought was like typically it's
Hmm.
like, oh no, I trust him. I'm gonna stay with him. We're gonna build this bond. We can do it. So it was like, yeah, like you're out for your own. And like, I like that we didn't know what her choice was going to be until the very end, too. Like,
Hmm.
that she was
Yep.
still kind of like, do I trust Kaelis? Do I trust myself? I've come across this new information from Bristara. At that point, I was like, Kaelis, you're kind of cooked, buddy.
Yeah.
But also, why did it take her so long to tell her? Like, why wouldn't you have told her sooner about all of this?
Yeah, that character irked me a bit, but like
Yeah,
like sometimes there are characters that I know have such a purpose and they're like there's annoying people in real life. So like this is
true.
an annoying character and I don't like how she talks to Clara and I don't like how she's withholding. I don't like that the mother was withholding information either
Right.
and like it's just but you can't rewrite the background of someone. But I felt the same way. I mean, I agree. I think the ending was cool. I really liked that she saw him again and that she didn't just like make a run for it. She was just kind of like, no,
Yeah.
like I got to do this thing for me. And I think she knew as much as he believed in his cause that his motives were still not genuine. They weren't necessarily bad, but she's like, you don't get to decide. Like, that's not any different than everyone else. And so I'm not trusting you with this. I have the power now. I love
Yeah.
that.
And that
Yeah.
moment felt really interesting. Like it
Hmm.
felt emotionally charged.
Let's get into some book two predictions. I would even say like series predictions. Like, where do we think the book is going? What do you think we're going to get in book 2? Like, what do you got, Kara?
The way that it ended really left the door open for so much to happen. So I said this to you the last time we hung out. Kaelis, I think, is giving Fool, trying to like wrangle all of these different majors and get the world. Like it feels very Fool coded. I don't know, like that is a card, so maybe he's like that card now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the reason I think that is because he's the only one that really knows how to like maneuver around the Fool's workshop. Maybe that's something because he's like the ringleader of the academy. I think the world before King Nathor took over wasn't as long ago as they said either. Like they kept saying it was like 300 years ago that the Revisian or whatever ruled. It
Mm-hmm.
was a different era, but I have a suspicion that Kayla's actually lived in that world.
Mm.
Yeah. And then the machines, this is the other thing that I thought was interesting. Like the throughout the book they were talking about this like N plus E thing. Like there was I think that was like on the machines that they
Mm-hmm.
found that were like able to ink. So I was thinking like N could be Nathor plus Kaelis's mother. On like because like I think that was also on like the card holder.
Hmm.
Um like contraption that the king had on his person all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that was like the world where machines were used to ink versus just like having an academy where you have to learn how to ink. I think maybe Nathor killed Kaelis's mother to like create this new world that exists now. But my suspicion is that Kaelis remembers that old world because he's the fool.
Interesting.
Yeah. So like
I
I
like
don't
that.
know. Like that might be a little out there, but like I just got the inkling that like he knows Clara from somewhere. Like
Okay.
there were just like these little things like maybe it's the chalice. Like I also thought maybe he like has a past with Clara, but he always seemed to be so surprised that she like hated him so much and had such
Right.
longing for her that like yes, she felt it, but like she didn't have it in the same regard. I feel like there's more to this, and if that's true, maybe he does remember Clara from a past life and they had like a connection that she's not remembering.
That's cool. I like that. Like, I definitely think there's something with these machines. That was like a thread we definitely didn't get clarity on. Like, it was
Yeah.
just kind of like loosely covered where you're like, does Kalis not really know? Or is he just like not willing to reveal it? But yeah, that's kind of interesting. I don't know if he's the fool. I don't know. I just feel like if he was personally, I think if he was the fool, it would be so bizarre not to reveal that in this book when there was so much talk about him.
True.
But it could be like yeah, there's also another brother, and the other brother could maybe be the fool,
That's
especially
interesting.
like he's like 13 or something. So I don't know. I've got like my spidey senses about this brother. He's gonna fit in somehow. I also just feel like as much as we're getting this like really dark and ominous energy around the use of this like world card, I think like what is this story without that card not being wielded? So I think we have to see that come into play at some point, like intentional or not. I think things got to get all messed up and then we see where people land after that, which like we know it can change pretty much everything. So like I would love
Literally.
to see that in the next book and then have kind of the follow through of that in the third book.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I love that. I love that. I mean, we'll see. Like, there's so many different directions that this could take at this point. Like, will Kalis try to, like, will he find out that Clara is even in Halazar? Like, will he even be privy to that information? Or will he go looking for Arina potentially? I remember him saying something about the star being in Halazar, like having an inkling that the person, like the last person who could like create this vessel for the world was in Halazar.
Yeah.
That gave me the suspicions because I'm like, what do you know that you're not telling us here? Like, it's fine to have
True.
your secrets, but like,
Yeah.
you know that Claire has been looking for Arina. I don't know.
Yeah, but like he clearly thought that she was dead. Like he like
True.
went to get her bones. Like
Yeah,
I don't think he would have done that otherwise, but I agree with you. I think that Arena is the star. That's I think that's how that's going to go and I think there's more about their background and their lineage that we don't know.
yeah.
It's Like, we're getting the beginnings of, like, we're just these poor peasants that have figured out how to make our own cards, but really no, we're super freaking powerful and we've been like hiding. That's the plot that I think we're gonna get. Wouldn't that be very cool if we had the two sisters and they're both majors and like they could do some serious damage?
Yes, that reminds me about Allure. Like
Yeah.
the relationship with her and Allure I thought was really interesting, and like how I think that Allure and Clara are half sisters, but like she is the legitimate, like Clara and Arina are like the legitimate heirs to Clan Tower potentially. And like maybe that's why, because we don't necessarily know why they're being hunted to like such a degree. Why are we
Yeah.
trying to destroy these two girls?
Right.
And so I wonder if Allure and Clara are like actually sisters. Like did they she had that like sisterly like bond with her, and it would make sense why Vental hates her so much and is like trying to hunt her. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. That was a thought that I
Yeah.
had too. That could be really cool that she's actually for real and noble, and like that's been hidden.
Yeah, that's really cool. Here's a question. The series is called Arcana Academy, but Clara has left the academy. So, like, are we going back to Arcana Academy in the next book? I have to think so, but like, under what circumstances?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good question. The way that it feels like it's been left right now is that it's going to be outside of that. But
Hmm.
that doesn't really make sense because then Arcana Academy was just a plot device for the first book, you know? And if the
Hmm.
whole series is called Arcana Academy, yeah, you're making the wheels turn at this point. Like,
Yeah.
I don't
We're
know
kind
how
of
that would even happen.
we're at a bit of a crossroads because I think she has to go back and finish her schooling in order to like not be found and sent to the mill at some point by a random person,
Yeah.
unless she's going to be in hiding forever or unless they like rebuild the world. But I have to assume they're going back to Arcana Academy. But also, if she goes back to Arcana Academy, like, well, she can't just go back. Can't just go back to the school now because like some of her cards have been put on the table.
Yeah.
So she can't just like disguise herself and like the king and the brother are like gonna let her roam free. Like that's not gonna happen.
And why would she want to go back at this point to Arcana Academy? Like she's done her part to like save the world for now. For now, she's in a
Hmm.
prison. No, because she has Raven's card. She has all of the king's cards. She gave Kaelis forgeries.
Right.
So she needs Arina's card.
But like even if she has the card, then she has to use them. And so and like I don't know that she wants to use them.
It's
And does she?
true. But like,
So
will she? Maybe that's her way of getting back into Arcana Academy. Like, I don't know. I don't
yeah,
know.
it's weird because, like, yeah, I can't see a scenario where she can go back in there or why she would, like, want to just be a student. The only thing I keep thinking about is, like, well, your cover is fully blown. And that it was kind of like your cover, but it was also Kaelis's cover. Even if the king and the prince know who she is, there's all these people who have been, like, suspicious, but kind of buying into this whole, like, marriage thing.
Yeah.
So now everyone knows the jig is up if you like let that all fall apart. So is there some sort of obligation to kind of maintain? Is there a deal that has to be made where they can have some sort of an exchange with these power players that like she'll do this if they do that and therefore there's a bit of protection or something? Like I don't know, but
That
I'm
is
intrigued.
super interesting. Yeah, oh
Yeah.
my gosh. I feel like at this point you kind of have an idea what the next steps are, but there's so many different ways that this could go. That like makes me so excited for book 2. I do
Mhm.
think like if there is something to Kaelis and Clara like knowing each other in a past life or whatever, like before Nathor like I think he used the world card already.
Mm.
Get rid of the Revision Kingdom.
Right.
And then it like reset everything. Like maybe that's how they know each other, and maybe there'll be a discovery of that throughout the next book where it'll get
Mhm.
more like emotionally
Yes.
charged. That would be my
Well,
hope. Like that would be something that I think would make this like 5 stars across the
yes.
board for me.
I think we also need like a wise character. Like we need like a grandmother or like, not an oracle, but like we need someone that like they can confide in that is like, I'm going to give you the information. For example, if you were going to use the world and all of these cards, this is how you use them. We don't really know. Like, we've heard that
Yeah.
you need to be very specific. You need to be very careful. Like, if you ask for the wrong thing, the world will crumble apart and, like, you could be a toad. We don't know how to really wield that power. I think we need a character that will provide a little guidance outside of the walls of Arcana Academy to these characters and give them a real purpose.
Book 2 next
So,
year.
yeah, I gotta look that up. Like, I don't know what these authors just pumping out these books lately. I'm impressed.
We're in trouble for next year, let's be honest. We're in trouble.
Yeah.
And that is a wrap on this episode of Quicklit. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. The holidays are right around the corner. It's going to be here before you know it. So we are going to be taking just a little bit of a break for the festivities. Coming in January, not only will we be journeying back into Celeria as we continue Zodiac Academy, finally, we will also be chatting Brimstone, Eldritch, Shield of Sparrows, and so many more books that we cannot wait to read. So as always, please help us stack our TBRs as if we need the help. At this point, we're always open for recs though, so please drop your recs in the comments or email us at fantasyfemmefatales.pod@gmail.com. We are counting on you to guide us to the next hyped and hot take-worthy read. Until then, we are Fantasy Femme Fatales, and we're out.